guys, we got a cool one today. Eric Trump on the podcast. Before we get into it, if you guys have not tried out the PrizePicks app, PrizePicks is the best app in the game. What I love about PrizePicks is instead of just firing on straight teams, you're choosing individual players. So you either go more or less than that set projection. The more players you choose, the more your whole pick's gonna multiply. Also, PrizePicks just added a new feature. They now have early cash outs. If you have a lineup that's shaping up nice, but you don't know about the last pick, you can now swipe and get an early cash out. Complete game changer. Shout out to PrizePicks for adding that. If you guys have never tried out the PrizePicks app for some godforsaken reason, we have you guys on code NELK right here. Put in $5 and you're gonna get $50 for free. Take advantage of code NELK, that's for you boys. Also, follow me on PrizePicks at Kyle. That way, if you wanna know what I'm taking, you could directly sweat with me what I'm sweating. Shout out to PrizePicks, the best app in the game. Download it, use code NELK, follow me on PrizePicks at Kyle. Let's get into the podcast. All right, guys, we got another great episode today of the Full Send Podcast. We got a legend here today, Eric Trump. New book out now, Under Siege. What is it? My Family's Fight to Save Our Nation by Eric Trump.
Welcome, Mar-a-Lago, guys. Good to have you back.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing to be here. We were just talking about it. We came here in 2022.
Slightly different times.
Completely different times. But I think when we did President Trump on the pod, it was right when the Russia-Ukraine situation happened. And then, we haven't been here since, but...
How crazy has that whole thing been? By the way, he was also in and out of courthouse. If this was 2022, he would have been in and out of a courthouse literally every single day as they were trying to indict him for doing absolutely nothing wrong. I guess you just had a war kick off, and here we are today.
I forgot the FBI raided.
I was the guy that got the call.
Really?
I was the guy that got the call. They were at the front gate, which is right over here. And I got a call from one of our team members, the FBI. They're here with a search warrant. They're demanding that you turn off all security cameras. Now, obviously, you have less security cameras on a property like this, right? Because it's commercial property, and you have to. And I go, I'm not turning off fucking cameras. No way. Like that's a no. And they came in here, and remember, they did it on behalf of NARA, which is National Archives. And no one actually believes that NARA wanted to raid Mar-a-Lago, right? And NARA is like a glorified library, and that's why they said that was their justification to raiding the president's house. So they raided my father's room, they raided Melania's closet, they raided Barron's room. They went through all their stuff, and then we found out that they were planting classified folders in my father's office on this property, and
that's been proven.
Oh yeah, so the judge in the case is this amazing woman named Eileen Cannon. Jack Smith admitted to her that they brought classified folders into Mar-a-Lago, placed them on the floor. Those were the same pictures that you saw on Fox and CNN every single night, right? Where it was classified folders, and that's when they said that he had taken classified information. They planted all that shit here. These are the dirtiest bastards you could ever possibly imagine.
So who was behind that?
Biden and Obama and all the Democrats who... Listen, remember, go back to 2022. It was roughly the same time you were here, as you said. The economy sucked. Inflation was rampant. Biden couldn't get through a sentence without stumbling. Inflation was literally 10%, right? You had Pete Buttigieg, who you had every shelf of every Home Depot in this country that was empty. Every shelf of every Walmart during the holidays was empty. You couldn't get presents for your kids. You couldn't get a 2x4, right? Pete Buttigieg, who was transportation secretary, was literally on paternity leave, because why wouldn't you take paternity leave when in the middle of a freaking crisis, right? And nothing was going well for these guys. And so what do they want? And they knew that Donald Trump was gaining in power, right? They knew that people were sick and tired of what they were seeing. And so they say on behalf of NARA, we want to raid your house, but there's no different than the 112 subpoenas to be exact that I got. They indicted my father 91 times. They took the mug shots. They impeached him twice. They took him off of every social media channel. Every judge in this country put gag orders on him every single day. They made up the Russia hoax. They made up the dirty dossiers. I mean, guys, they did everything they could to try and destroy him. They tried to destroy our company. They tried to debank us. They got every financial institution to effectively cancel us. We were like cancer culture before cancel culture existed. I mean, we were the most canceled people ever. The IRS was leaking our tax returns. I mean, I could go on for hours, but...
It seems weird that they would request you to cut security cameras and assume that you guys would comply to that.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre, right?
Yeah, you're immediately going to say no, and then what do they say to that?
I bet they do that all the time, and I bet people are probably...
who might do it?
Yeah, I bet they were probably sheep, all right?
Yeah.
I mean, and by the way, I asked them, I go, hey, I have a lawyer that lives right down the road. Can you just wait 5 minutes? She'll be here in 5 minutes. At least she can observe whatever the hell you guys are going to do. Absolutely not. They made her wait outside the front gate. So, guys, it's crazy. But, this was the same group that spied on the campaign, And my father said it. He was on 60 Minutes. He was like, hey, they're spying on my campaign, Leslie. She goes, you have no proof of that. And sure enough, they were spying on his campaign. Under the last administration, guys, they were dirty bastards. They were corrupt as hell.
What do you do in a moment like that when everyone's just going through here? I mean, you're obviously frustrated, but how do you control yourself?
You know what? Honestly, we became so desensitized to it. I know that sounds like bizarre. I had gotten I became the most subpoenaed person in American history, and I never got I've been a pretty good kid overall. Never got in trouble. And man, they came after, right? Because I didn't have the executive, branch protections, obviously, that my father had, and I was running the entire company. And so they came after us but honestly, I think we were numb to the BS at that point. And so it was, no, we're not shutting off the security cameras. And I called my father, I asked him, I go, did anybody mention it to my father? And everybody said no. So I go, I'll call him now. We'll take care of it. And 20 minutes later, we wrote that tweet. You'll probably remember it, which is, they're raiding the famous Mar-a-Lago, this is an invasion of my home. This is just another way that they're attacking me, right? It was kind of a famous tweet. And then for weeks on end, you had the helicopters that were circling overhead, and the pictures of the front gate right down here. But no, never in my wildest dream would I have, and by the way, again, they said that they did it on behalf of the National Archives. No one actually believes that you would raid a former president's house on behalf of the National Archives. It's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's freaking insane.
Is that like the craziest thing that's ever happened? You must have had so much crazy moments when your father switched to politics.
Yeah.
Too.
It's kind of interesting is in 2016, right? You had the New York Times and everybody else saying that we had zero chance of winning. They gave us 2% chance election day of winning, right? And so they didn't really ramp up the games because they had so little kind of hubris. Like they legitimately thought that they were winning, and they had the spirit of the American people. They had the entire mainstream media behind them. They're touting their message all day long. And it was only when my father really, obviously, as soon as he got into office, they started going after him viciously because they wanted to do anything they could to undermine his presidency and his message and everything else. But then really in 2020, when they realized that he could run again and he could win, that's when they that's when they put the corruption on steroids. And that's when they went after him, beyond viciously.
You have to remind me what setting this was, but one of my favorite clips of your dad, I can't remember where he is, but he's on stage and he points out people.
Yeah.
And he goes, you used to support me before this. You used to support me before. Where was that?
It was the Al Smith dinner in New York.
And who did you call out specifically? Do you remember?
Yeah. So Schumer was one of them.
Yeah.
Hillary was one of them. So Al Smith is this like famous charitable dinner, right? And pretty much traditionally every Republican and Democrat gets together to go to this Al Smith dinner. It's it's kind of a Catholic dinner. And they've been doing it for the last 100 years. And they were there, and he looks at Chuck Schumer. He goes, "You used to support me. You'd invite me to your house. You tell me that I was your best friend. I'd give you a check every single time. And the second I came down that escalator, all of a sudden I became this no good, dirty scoundrel. And I'm the worst thing that's ever happened to the world. It's really interesting. And I remember all those people. I posted a picture 2 days ago when we're in the White House with Hillary Clinton. I'm like 7 years old. I've got the greatest hockey mullet you've ever seen in your entire life. And she was at my father's wedding. She was kissing his ass every single day. These politicians loved him.
Wasn't he at Bill and Hillary's wedding?
Yeah, and they were at his. All of these guys were, right? And then they were kissing his ass every single day. They were asking him to write every check imaginable. And then sure enough, he puts the R at the end of his political affiliation, and they detest him. Minute 1 second one.
Do you have any memories of the Clintons before when you were younger?
Well, Bill used to come over to the golf course, and I don't think I'm breaking news, but he loved women. The guy loved women.
Yeah.
We had a good looking golf pro who worked at the property, and he would get lessons from her every single week. But Bill was always a good guy's guy. I never had any animosity against Bill, right? Yeah. And I had a lot of animosity against her. To make up a dirty dossier.
He probably does too, right?
I think more than history would probably say he wasn't a huge fan.
Yeah.
But, when you have somebody that pays for a dossier about your father, think about golden shower, right? Like this is what they had. This was all made up.
Yeah.
Golden showers, prostitution, all sorts of crap. And she pays for it to get herself an extra 3 votes. Guys, that's pretty dirty crap. We live in a big crazy world in terms of real estate industries cutthroat, the business community's cutthroat. This wouldn't even cross people's minds to do this in normal. It's only a politician who could come up with this crap, this October surprise, right? That's what they call it. They call it an October surprise. So it's something that's so damaging that it burns you in the polls right before an election. They want to pop it late, right? Because they want to do maximum damage, but they don't want to give you enough time to be able to disprove it, right? And that's their definition of an October surprise. The dirty dossier was their October surprise. The Russia collusion, which was, I was the guy that got the call from the FBI saying, I hear you have secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower communicating directly with the Kremlin. I go, we don't have, first of all, we're like largely like cloud-based computing, so we don't really have servers, right? Second of all, is you don't put servers in basements because basements flood, and it's kind of idiotic. Third of all, we hardly know what a delegate is. We hardly know what the Iowa caucuses are. Like, we're not smart enough to communicate with the Kremlin, like in terms of effectuating it was all BS, right? But that was their October surprise. That's how dirty the game is. And it's funny, as a family who didn't come out of politics, we knew nothing about it. We're great developers. We couldn't believe some of the crap that we saw. I mean, it would be like somebody would suggest something like that if they were smart enough to suggest one of these, and you'd look at them being like, that's vindictive, nasty, horrible, and probably defies all morals and ethics and everything else. You just wouldn't do it. But that is the political game in this country.
What do you think about Kamala and her book and her saying that does she want to run again? Does she actually saying that?
Well, first of all, I think she's crazy as hell, right? I mean, she said it was the closest election in American history. I think Al Gore would probably, right? The Bush v. Gore years would probably,
yeah.
What was that? 537 votes or whatever the hell that was.
Election at all.
There was nothing close about it. I mean, we won every swing state. We won every state in the country tacked to the right. We won the popular vote. Counties, 11 counties in California that had never been won by a conservative, Miami-Dade, right? We won Miami-Dade. It hasn't been won by a Republican in 37 years. We won Miami-Dade by 11 points, right?
Really? 37 years?
37 years since it's been run by a Republican, and we won by 11 points. And by the way, that's Miami-Dade, right? So this is a great melting pot of every nationality, every age group, every community. And she's running around saying this is a close election, and it wasn't a close election. She got lambasted. She got absolutely crushed. I mean, in every swing state and every quantify it. But but what never made sense to me is, you take the person who was the first out of the primaries in 2020. Remember, she ran against Joe Biden, right? She was the first to drop out because she had zero support. Then he picks her because of DEI and identity politics, right? She was not the best candidate, but he picked her to be on the ticket, right? So then she's on the ticket. Then she forces him out, right? And immediately she has all the delegates. She has 2,400 delegates lined up. And the next day she's the Democratic nominee for president of the United States. Like, what's democratic about that process?
They fucked up so big.
And they pissed everybody off. Like, wouldn't you think that the very people who have to go out to the polls should probably be the person who's going to pick the actual candidate?
Yeah.
But they totally subverted that whole process.
I mean, the Democratic Party in a whole just seems like it's in complete shambles. Even talking about like New York, what's going on?
We got to talk about that. That's tomorrow, right?
Well, look at Mamdami, right? So first of all, he hates cops. He says he's going to arrest Netanyahu, so he hates the Jews. He says that Modi is a war criminal, so he hates the Indian population, and he wants to nationalize grocery stores. Other than that, and he wants to increase your taxes like dramatically, right?
Yeah.
Defund the police is the dumbest fucking thing of all time.
It is.
That's the dumbest fucking thing
he has
you could
a
ever
strong
say.
support, and I'm trying to understand how is he gaining so much support?
You know why?
Average New Yorker.
First of all, he's got a great line of shit, right? I mean, make no mistake. He's, people are like, oh, he's not a good politician. No, he's a really good politician, right? He's got a great line of shit. Second of all, he goes out and he promises free stuff for everybody. The problem is, so we're in Florida, obviously, right now, right? Ron DeSantis is literally going out right now saying, hey, I'm going to eliminate all property taxes in the state of Florida. And you know why he's able to do that? Because everybody from New York has moved to Florida, and all the wealth of New York has come to Florida, and they have such a surplus in their budget that they don't need people to pay property taxes. It's literally going to pass, right? They're going to put it through the legislature. Versus New York, where you have a guy going out there saying, we're going to increase taxes on the few remaining people. And guess what? You know where they're going to come? They're going to come to Florida. So they're just going to put New York in an awful financial deficit. Like, New York is it's the greatest city in the world. It's an unstoppable city.
Great city.
Clean streets, safe streets, and just have reasonable taxation and get the F out of the way. And New York will be unstoppable anywhere in the world, right? I mean, we've got the best entrepreneurs in the world. We've got the best business leaders in the world. We've got Wall Street. We've got the US dollar, which is the strongest currency in the world by far. We could do it better than anybody. Just get the hell out of the way and stop being so punitive. But, we're going to nationalize grocery stores. Like, you've got some of the greatest entrepreneurs in the world who have tried getting into the grocery business and they fail, right? You have spoilage. You have inventory problems. It's heavy real estate. It's high taxation. You've got loss factor based on theft, especially in New York. They can't get them to work. But yet Mamdami, vis-a-vis City Hall, some politician who's never ran a business in their life, never signed the front of a check, is all of a sudden gonna go up against Gristedes or D'Agostino's or Whole Foods. Like, give me a break. Like, this isn't gonna work.
I find it interesting, that clip where, it's recently, there's two actually. There's one where he talked about his aunt after 9/11 being afraid to be on the subway, which didn't turn out to be completely true. And then the second thing is, I don't know if you saw recently, he was going to like the gay clubs around New York, gaining their support. And then this photo leaked of him with this lady, Rebecca from Uganda, who literally says homosexuals should be in prison for life. And he has this photo with her around his arm.
Sure.
So it's just like,
why? Because we're all hypocrites.
They don't know what they actually believe, right?
No, they don't. They don't know what the hell they
But I'm wondering, like, do people not see this, or like it doesn't? I'm just trying to figure out, if you see that, doesn't that make you think for a second this guy's like kind of full of shit?
Listen, I certainly think he's full of crap. I think it's deeply scary when you have one of the largest city. I mean, he's in charge of like 300,000 employees, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at the city of New York, I mean, just the NYPD is roughly 30,000 cops. That's just the NYPD. That's before all the rest of the government agencies. Like, what has the guy done? Like, he was like a community organizer. Isn't that a little scary? Bloomberg. Guess what? He ran one of the biggest companies, built one of the biggest companies, right? Like, you go back over the course of New York, you had some real, look how great of a leader Giuliani was and what he did. I mean, Giuliani single-handedly turned around New York. It's scary as hell when you see a guy who comes out and says, listen, I'm going to arrest Netanyahu if he ever comes into the UN into New York for the UN General Assembly. They're saying, you're just going to not have world leaders come through New York now? Like, if they don't come through New York, they're going to go somewhere else. And that's a damn shame for this country.
What do you think will happen if he does win?
Oftentimes, I always wonder whether or not these people are bravado or not. And we've seen it both ways. We saw Letitia James, the Attorney General, right? Who always she campaigned on the promise of going after Donald Trump and taking him down and taking down our entire family. Really interesting. She dug so deep that she ended up finding herself. But in her case, it wasn't bravado. She actually did it. There's other people who will run on the bravado and they'll get in and kind of drop the political nonsense and stop playing the game. And I don't know, man. He's this guy's crazy as hell, and I love New York. I mean, I grew up there. I run a lot of properties there. It breaks my heart to see that happen to the city.
What's the biggest lesson your dad has taught you about business?
Work your ass off. You have to. You have to work hard. You have to believe. You better love whatever you do. It's if you don't love it, you can't do it. If you don't love it, you can't put in the hours. You're not going to travel the miles. You're not going to put in the effort. You're not going to, right? You have to love it. You have to be damn determined. So it's energy. It's work ethic. I mean, you've got to obviously be smart. You're probably not going to win the race if you're not good at what you ultimately do. But I don't think anybody's ever been successful. I mean, look at the greatest entrepreneurs in the world. Like, do you think Elon Musk likes space?
Seems
silly question, but obviously he does. Do you think Elon Musk likes technology? Silly question, but obviously he loves it and he embraces it and he dreams about it. And guess what? That's why he's created some of the greatest space companies, and that's why he's created, Tesla, so on and so forth. Like, do you think Jeff Bezos liked e-commerce? Well, no question he liked e-commerce. And these are also people who are all disruptors. Name a person who's really, really good at something. Do you think Tom Brady liked throwing a football? Do you think Michael Jordan liked, shooting hoops? Of course they did.
Like, we like drinking. That's why we started Happy Dad.
Exactly. You're going to have the greatest freaking alcohol company because you really like drinking. No, but you better have you better have passion, because, if Michael Jordan didn't have passion, guess what? He probably wouldn't have spent the 3 hours a day shooting free throws, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he just wouldn't have done it. And guess what? He probably wouldn't have put up the stats he did in his career. Mm-hmm. If Jeff Bezos wasn't damn good at e-com, there's no way that, and by the way, he learned a lot along the way because he wrote the whole playbook for it. So he was a hell of an entrepreneur. But you better love what you do and you better work damn hard at it, because if you're not working at it, somebody else will be.
So Why the book now, and what it's about?
Listen, I had to tell the story because honestly, it was like the ultimate weaponization of government. With revisionist history and everything that they're doing. Like I didn't want to fade into oblivion. I mean, we're the most attacked family, but they attacked us because they wanted to attack a movement. They wanted to take down, make America great again. So when they were silencing us, they sure as hell silenced you guys for a lot of things you said, right? Like,
Well, they deleted our episode with President Trump, right?
think
First
about
time.
it. They told my wife, who has a podcast, they told Laura Trump that if you put anything, you mention Donald Trump, and this is in email from YouTube, right? You mention anything, we're going to pull your whole, we're going to pull your entire channel, right? And they've done to your friends too, right? A lot of these people. So they were silencing us, they were gag ordering us, they were canceling us, they were trying to bankrupt us, they were trying to divide the family. They were subpoenaing again. 112 subpoenas. I became the most subpoenaed person in American history for doing nothing freaking wrong. They tried to kill my father twice. They killed my friend Charlie Kirk, right? They impeached my father twice. They went after Supreme Court justices like they were dogs. They made up stories that he liked to drink, beer. Guy had like 2 beers in high school, and they went after him like he's some serial killer, right? They made up the dossiers that we talked about. They were raiding our homes. They were leaking our tax returns. I mean, it's the IRS literally leaked every single one of my father's tax returns for a 15-year period of time. They did the same to me. They did the same to Don. They did the same to 91 corporate employees. Just leaked them to the New York Times. I mean, they did everything they possibly could to try and destroy us, to take away our voice, and ultimately to kill all of us. And the story had to be told. And the coolest part of the whole story is we freaking won, guys. We beat these guys. We beat the mainstream media that's dead. And the media is dead because of you guys. Let's just be honest. The media is dead because of independent voice in this country. Like, you take you guys, you take the Rogans, PTD, Patrick Bet-David, who's a dear friend of mine, and obviously I think you guys have been on the show before. Yeah. And all of a sudden, NBC and ABC, they've been replaced. They've been replaced by independent voice in this country, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And but it's a story about not only what we went through, not just we as a family, but we as a country, but also how we won. And the ironic part of the whole story is, we sold more books times like 10 than anybody last week, right? So we won #1 New York Times bestseller. You know how much they didn't want to give me #1 New York Times bestseller, considering 3/4 of the book was how they were the crux of just about all of the problems that happened in this country and how they got all of it wrong and how they were frankly complicit in this entire fight. It's great irony. It's kind of shocking that they gave it to me. If you want to know the truth.
Talking about the new wave of media. Yeah. A lot of these like podcasters had your father on when he was running, and it seems like a lot of them have kind of switched their opinion on him. I don't know if you've noticed that at all. How does that make you feel?
Well, because they demonized the hell out of him, right? That was the entire playbook of the Democrats. Demonize Donald Trump. Do you remember Hillary was running around back in like the early campaigns, and Donald Trump should not have his finger on the nuclear button. Isn't like the irony today that Donald Trump is the one person who's never started a war. He's never brought our country to war. He's been like the greatest peace president in history. I was there when he solved the Cambodian the Cambodian War. Look what he did with India and Pakistan.
Yeah,
you would have had millions of dead people.
Yeah.
2 nuclear superpowers. You would have had millions of people. Look how hard he fought to create Middle East peace, which he got done. Look how hard he's fought to end this conflict in Russia and Ukraine. And yet you had Hillary Clinton running all over the place saying, Donald Trump is very unstable. He can't put his finger on the nuclear button. Like, the problem is they would label you. And the mainstream media in this country was effectively just the PR arm of the Democratic Party. And so they would just amplify that message over and over and over. What happened is they kept on amplifying the message, and they kept on being proven wrong. They got proven wrong with the dirty dossier. They got proven wrong with impeachment 1, impeachment 2, the Russia hoax, so on and so forth. And there's only so many times you can cry wolf before people start calling your BS. And that's exactly what America did. And so what did they do? They start turning off CNN, which has like the lowest ratings they've ever had. And CNN used to be like the most respected channel on earth. Now you'll have like 300,000 people tune in on a Wednesday night at 9:00. No one watches this crap anymore. And then compare their ratings to the ratings you do when you launch this podcast tomorrow, the next day, right? You'll 10x them.
Yeah.
And what do we have? We have 3 cameras here and a couple microphones and a couple guys sitting there with alcohol bottles, chilling out and bullshitting.
That's crazy, right?
And by the way, and then I want you to go to CNN in Atlanta and look at their headquarters. Tens and tens and tens of thousands of square feet, thousands of people, parking decks, this and that. Massive satellites on the roof. Go to AOL Time Warner in Columbus Circle in New York, right? 15 floors of the nicest building you've ever seen, reporters, this and that. and you guys are smoking them in terms of ratings.
Mm-hmm.
Who's winning that battle? You guys. But beyond that, it's America that's winning it now, right? Because they don't need to turn it and tune into the BS that's being fed to them by some corporate. I mean, the stories are nonsensical. The stories are not. I was the guy that got 112 subpoenas for not doing anything wrong. Yet Hunter Biden had a laptop of hookers, illicit drug use, shady ass deals all over the world, and I'm the guy that's getting the subpoenas. And to CNN, the guy like walked on water. I mean, America didn't buy it. And
have you ever had an interaction with Hunter Biden?
You know what? I haven't. sounds like a good guy to drink.
Yeah,
with,
he'd probably be a good guy to party with, right?
sounds like a fun.
I mean,
time.
maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, what you do.
Not a perfect representation of our country, but
maybe cut it off at like 12, like not too late.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time you disagreed on something your dad has done as president?
I think he's been beyond reasonable. I think there are times where I probably would have gone farther, in certain things, and he's been very, very controlled. I think one thing that I rally on kind of a lot was the whole Butler situation. Like I'm wholly unsatisfied with what happened there, and I'm wholly unsatisfied with what the American people know about the guy who tried to blow my father's face off. I'm a competitive shooter, shot competitively my entire life. 130-yard shot with a modern rifle, modern optics from a rooftop is a chip shot, right? Like it shouldn't be here. And we know nothing about this freaking kid. We see one picture of him. He's like 13 years old. He looks like a nice, innocent, prepubescent boy. We don't know a damn thing about him. He got cremated like 6 days later, right? And no, I'm wholly unsatisfied with that. And listen, my father's been like remarkably calm, and has said publicly that he's satisfied. I think there's a lot of things that go into that statement that obviously we don't need to contend with as a general public, national security and other things. And a guy who's responsible for bringing calm to a country right after kind of a horrible incident. But no, I'm not satisfied at all. I want to know exactly who this guy is. They got into every phone of every January 6th protester, every grandmother that walked through the Capitol and took a selfie, but they couldn't get into this guy's multiple phones. I'm wholly unsatisfied as to who this guy was, how he got there, what the hell he was doing. And I think this country is too. I mean,
isn't it impossible for him to be acting alone?
One freaking picture. I mean, who in the day of smartphones, who in the day of one of these things has one picture of them out there? I mean, it's insane, and this country's pissed off, and as a son, I'm really pissed off. And I want to know more. So if there's one thing I disagree with him on, I do so incredibly respectfully. He's doing it for different reasons than I am, but I want to know who the hell this person is.
You also are very emotional about it. It's your father at the end of the day too.
Yeah, and I want to know who the damn
bro.
kid was, right? I want to know who this kid was. And it's been way too quiet about it. And again, I'm glad he's been as calm as he was, because I think there's a different scenario there where it could have gone very differently. But I think this country deserves to know who the shooter was.
Whenever I do anything in crypto, I am using MoonPay. MoonPay is like your passport to the entire crypto ecosystem. What I love about MoonPay too is it's so easy to use. Whether you're an expert or a beginner, their interface is just the best in my opinion. MoonPay has a new partner called Moonshot. Moonshot's literally the place to trade new meme coins. This app is honestly so nice, and it constantly delivers the hottest new projects directly to people. And now with MoonPay, you'll have the best Moonshot experience buying whatever meme coin you want, all in one smooth flow. Whether you're just starting in the world of crypto or you're a degen trader, Moonshot is the best spot to trade. Obviously guys, with the meme coin shit, don't be a loser. Do your own research before you buy stuff. Also guys, we give 1,000 in Bitcoin away every single Monday on our Nelk Boys Instagram. All you have to do is download the MoonPay app and DM us your MoonPay wallet address. If you're looking to get into crypto or you want a shot at winning 1,000 in Bitcoin, download the MoonPay app. Shout out to MoonPay, the best crypto app in the game. They're taking over the space. Let's get back into the pod.
How do you feel about something your dad always does? And I find it pretty funny, but a lot of people don't. Like after the No Kings rally, he posted that AI video of him flying the plane and dropping feces on the
It's great.
rally. It pisses a lot of people off. But how do you feel about it?
Honestly, at this point, like I'm so happy. I wore I don't put a whole lot of time into Halloween anymore, right? So I have 2 young kids, 2 beautiful kids, 6 and 8. They die for trick or treating, like all they want to do. And so I look at my wife, I go, I literally have nothing. She's like, Luke had like a little crown that somebody gave him. So I literally took this crown and I wore it as Halloween. So I became the king.
Mhm.
And I just did it to trigger these people. And I think at this point it's kind of funny to trigger them. I was the one that created that Trump 2028 hat. I'm not sure if you saw that. So
Yeah.
I'm in my office one day, I put on a Trump 2028 hat. And dude, the media starts freaking melting down. I start getting emails, Bloomberg and all these people like, does this mean that your father is going to subvert the Constitution and run again? And I'm literally just snapping like pictures of these on my phone and I'm just throwing them up on Instagram on my story, just like trolling them, and it's, no, I think they deserve to be trolled. Honestly, they're so dishonest. And I think being able to have a little bit of fun at their expense is kind of cathartic for us at this point, if that makes sense.
The meme team is incredible.
I literally think memes won this election. And by the way, the Democrats can't meme. They have no freaking sense of humor. They're so backward in terms of every issue. We had a group that was the meme generals, and it was just funny crap that was sent around all the time. And
What was our boy's name on TikTok, Jack?
yeah, TikTok Jack was great.
We met him. Yeah.
I mean, he did a phenomenal job. I mean, he owned TikTok, right? Look at the social guys. We didn't have a damn choice. They had a war chest. Hillary Clinton had a war chest of $1.5 billion. My father self-funded his campaign. We were running at like a 5-to-1 deficit financially from Hillary Clinton. Like, if we didn't have personality, we weren't able to yell into a microphone, fairly loudly. And if we weren't able to get a lot of free, like, we called it earned media, but we got earned media. And, she's going all the way, all over the country trying to buy ads in Pennsylvania. You come up with one meme, that meme is probably 10 times more valuable than any ad could ever be. Does that make sense?
You can hit a way bigger audience that way.
Totally.
Was there a singular moment in the election campaign that you think won it?
Yeah, well, certainly when you got shot, right?
I remember that. I was like, wow.
It was strange for me because exactly 48 hours after that incident, after Butler, I was the delegate from the state of Florida that voted to make him effectively the Republican nominee. So he got over the threshold. It was like 1,500 delegates or whatever the hell it was, and that was exactly 48 hours later. But certainly Butler, and then certainly. But also I'd say the mugshot was a big one. It's just pissed off a lot of people. People are like, I don't like what they're doing to this freaking guy at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this guy needs a mugshot. He's probably the most recognizable person in the entire world. He wears a suit around all day that has a red tie and just, pretty recognizable freaking hair. This guy needs a mugshot. Like, I don't like what they're doing to him. Like, this looks like BS. So I think the mugshot day was big. A couple of court days, like when he got charged with 34 felonies in New York. Like, just pissed off the country.
Yeah.
It's the first time an indictment actually got a politician. At that point, he was a politician, but like, since when has indictments been good for a politician's career? And every single time my father got indicted, his poll numbers went up because, again, people were just, after Russia and after the impeachments and after Kavanaugh and all the BS, I think just people were reading through this, and it's just every single one of them just pissed people off more and more.
Do you see any negatives with this new wave of media? Because now pretty much anyone can have a platform, anyone can say whatever they want, and it seems like even on the far right, the conspiracies, everything's going way crazier than it's ever been.
Listen, kind of in life, I think the cream rises to the top. And so, listen, our country's grounded in a First Amendment right. Well, it's First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. Like, that is the bedrock of what makes America great. You're going to have some lunatic on both sides that says something crazy as hell, and guess what? They're going to get tuned out. There's Republicans who were big in 2016 who have been tuned out because they said stupid things, right? And you have a lot of Democrats who were big and got tuned out for saying horribly stupid things. I mean, you had Jeffrey Toobin, who was caught, yanking one out on CNN, who got tuned out because he did something incredibly stupid, right? Those people are going to fall off. And you're going to have serious people, who can have serious conversation, who have interesting guests, who are going to rise to the top and do incredibly well. And I like, isn't that how the process should be? It's almost like democratizing a message. If you suck and you're not good and you're inappropriate and you bring a crappy message and one that's radical, well, guess what? You're probably not going to end up on the platforms, and you're probably not going to do well monetarily, and no one's going to work for you, and you're probably not going to be able to find a manager, and you're probably not going to have good guests, and you'll probably fade into oblivion, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just kind of how life works, right? If you're not good at real estate, you're probably not going to own properties like this, and you're probably not going to manage them well, which means you're probably not going to have good members, and financially you're going to go bust, and you're going to fade into oblivion. Like, I think that's the way the system was meant to to work, right? Versus, censoring. I was just with Miranda Devine.
Yeah.
The laptop from hell story. They came out and they censored it. They wouldn't let them publish it. Now, the laptop from hell story ended up being factually 100% accurate. But you had some group in social media that was controlled by the Democratic Party that came out and literally canceled everybody. Anybody who would retweet that story, they were literally throwing them off of Facebook and Twitter. Like, that's not healthy. Let the facts speak for themselves and let people tune into what they want to hear. And if your voice is better than somebody else's, congratulations, you win the race.
How difficult is it for you to block out politics and focus purely on your business?
You know what? I retired. I retired from politics. I know we've talked a lot about politics, but election day, I called up my father that morning. We still hadn't slept. We had just won. And I go, Pops, I love you. Go to DC. You're gonna make me proud, and I'm going to continue to run the company. I'll make the family very proud, and we'll do great things. And congrats. And there's no more plays left for us to. We won the Super Bowl, and I'm honored to have been on that stage for the last 10 years. And what ends up happening is you have a lot of stuff that's outside your control that rolls down your plate, because people want to use the political conversation and they want to try and interject that with a private property, with a private business, right? I wasn't subpoenaed because I had done anything wrong in business. I was subpoenaed because over and over and over again, because they wanted to try and destroy my father and everything that he was trying to work for, right? They wanted to try and destroy him. And so, unfortunately, like, I wish the two could be 1,000% divided. Unfortunately, they don't allow them to be divided. When they attack you, they're trying to attack. They want to rip our name off of every building in New York. They wanted to destroy his wealth. They wanted to destroy his assets. They wanted to destroy his family. They wanted to just, debank us in every way, shape, or form. They wanted to curb our voice and our ability to be able to market ourselves. And so, unfortunately, all that stuff was rolling out of DC, and I would have loved it not to have. I would have lived a hell of a lot better life had it not. But that was the game they wanted to play. So it was kind of hard to decouple the two as much as I wanted the two to be decoupled.
How many properties do you manage?
Oh God, a lot. A lot. I mean, we've some of the biggest hotels in the world, some of the best residential buildings, commercial buildings, retail, golf courses, properties like this. So in the hundreds. Across the world, we're active in development, and about 25 of them. And, depending how you define a property, but, maybe 50, 60 very, very large properties. And then obviously a bunch of kind of, tangential assets out of there. But
when did you take over, like, running all the properties?
So he came to me when I was 33 years old, and he goes, honey, I'd been in the company since I was, I want to say 11, but pretty much 11. I started on our construction sites and with our stonemasons and our electricians.
Oh, we got to talk about that too. How'd you start?
I just, he's one of these guys who just didn't believe in giving kids free time nor money. Mm-hmm. You want to go buy something, you wanted something, congratulations, go work and go buy it. And so, like, literally, I grew up doing demo. I grew up doing electrical work, HVAC work. I spent the summer cutting rebar with acetylene torches, running excavators, chainsaws.
He's been trying to mount his TV for like the past.
Dude, I'll come mount your TV for you, no problem. This isn't that hard.
We can't get it done.
So I can't tell you how many friends I have who can't mount a freaking TV on the wall. I'm sorry if I'm insulting you right now in this whole process.
Making that up.
I could do it.
Huh?
I can do it.
He's
got 120 inches. It's a little heavy. If you could help.
Yeah. That's fine. We'll give you the muscle, but at least if you can do it, right? Most people can't find the stud, and then once they find the stud, half the wall's gone. They don't know what the hell to do with it, and they're trying to use sheetrock screws to mount a 120-inch TV, and that's not working.
You're telling me, yeah.
Mr. Fix It over here. Huh?
He was really great, right? It was, for him, it was always like, don't give a type A kid too much time or too much money. There was no freaking Ferraris for us when we were 16 years old, right? And I had friends in my school that went down that road, and I can't tell you how many of them went to rehab. I can't tell you how many of them went down these terrible paths. It was sad. I mean, these are people I loved. These are people who were friends, and you wanted something, congratulations, go work for it, go buy it. And it did two things. It took up our time. So, by the end of a work day, it's like 4:00 in the afternoon, you hopped on a construction site at 7. You're tired as hell. The last thing you want to do is go out and party. Second of all, you didn't want to spend your money, no disrespect, but you weren't spending your money if you're making $20 a day, buying booze when you're, 14 years old, right? So you were tired, you learned a skill, and you understood the value of a dollar, and he was really adamant about that. But at 33, he came to me. He goes, "Honey, obviously I'm doing the DC thing. I want you to take over. You've built a lot of our properties. I built a lot of our buildings at that point, and assembled a lot of our teams, and do a great job with it. And I thought it was going to be kind of the easy road of go manage golf courses, go manage hotels. Difficult for some, but we had become very, very good at it. And I think 90% of my time, those 4-year period was trying to keep the FBI, the DOJ, the subpoenas, the depositions, the lawfare, the debanking, trying to keep just a team intact. I mean, they did everything they could to extort our employees to try and turn against my father. I mean, it was the dirtiest kind of mob tactics I could have ever imagined, and it was coming out of the United States government.
Let's talk about. I mean, I thought we were doing okay, but Barron headlines are saying Barron's got a net worth of 150 million. I don't know what the truth is there, but it looks like he's doing pretty well.
So Barron fell in love with this. So part of getting kind of debanked. We fell in love with crypto, right? We kind of didn't have anywhere else to turn. And the very same people who were coming after us, we're going after the crypto guys, and we kind of realized how cool it was, how innovative it was, and how it's really kind of the future of finance. And so, we spun up a couple great companies. World Liberty, we have the fastest growing stablecoin on earth. I have a company called American Bitcoin, ABTC. We just listed on the NASDAQ. The company's flying. It's awesome. We're having so much fun with it. But I became the biggest fan of Bitcoin. I became the biggest believer in what it is, right? So, something that can't be stolen from you, isn't can't be burned, can't be destroyed in a flood, or it's kind of like the greatest hedge against real estate.
Yeah.
But also, look at the corruption all over the world. We saw a lot of it here in America, but just look at the corruption, which is far worse all over the world. Imagine living in, you pick, pick the country, pick some African nation, pick some South American nation, bad rule of law, corrupt governments. What do you have, right? And so now all of a sudden you have stable coins where anybody on earth, if they have a cell phone, they can be on the US dollar. Imagine Zimbabwe where you have 10,000% inflation a year. You get your paycheck and you may as well just freaking burn it, right? Because it's the value of it's gone, the day after you earn the money. Now all of a sudden you can take that, you can either invest in stable coins, you can invest in Bitcoin, you can invest in other stores of value. You don't need banks, you don't need intermediaries, you can't be canceled, you can't be, it's cheaper, it's 24/7, it can be sent anywhere around the world, very small transaction fees.
Would you say for, I guess the younger, or I will just say like ages 18 to 25,
yeah,
they should be studying crypto. Like,
yeah, 100%. Listen, if you look back in 10 years, do not think that the modern financial system will, when I say modern, will run the way the modern financial system is currently running right now. Why is it you can't send a wire past 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon? It's a freaking joke, guys. Like you can send a Venmo to your buddies, at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning, but yet, bank to bank, you can't send a wire transfer past 5 o'clock. If you don't get it out by 5 o'clock, it hits Monday afternoon. And the big banks love that. You know why? They want to see, hundreds of billions of dollars tied up over a weekend where they can gain interest on your money, as it sits there in purgatory. They're not exactly, running to fix this problem. There's nothing that can't be done by the big banks. It can't be done better, faster, cheaper, more transparently by cryptocurrency. So mark my word, if you look back in 5 years, if you look back in 10 years, the financial system will be very, very, very different. Tokenization of assets will be huge. Tokenization of commodities will be huge. Even down to tokenization of assets. So, why? So Taylor Swift comes out with an album. Like her or not, she's got a massive fan base. Why can't she go out, take her album and say, listen, I'm not going to go out to Paramount Records. I'm not going out to one of these companies. Swiftie fans, I'm going to put this out. Who wants a token of Taylor Swift? It's going to cost you $500. Go sell 2 million of them. Go sell 20 million of them. And in perpetuity, you get 70% of the profits generated off of my album. You'll have every Swiftie fan go out there and do that, right? So you're going to have tokenization of real world assets. You're going to have tokenization of art. You're going to have tokenization of artists. You're going to have tokenization of Hollywood. It's coming, guys. It's here. And on the stablecoin front, which is just the digital US dollar, in most cases, right? Stablecoins can be, but you're going to bring hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions, trillions of dollars. Everybody wants the US dollar. No one wants the euro. No one wants the pound. No one wants any other form of currency. You're going to bring hundreds of billions of dollars onto US shores, which is wonderful for our financial system.
What do your companies do in crypto?
Yeah, so I have one company called American Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. That's one that we just listed, and we mine Bitcoin every day. So we're mining Bitcoin on average of about 50 cents on the dollar to what Bitcoin's trading. So right now, Bitcoin's about 110,000. We're mining it every single day for roughly 50 cents on the dollar to that. And so what we do is we mine and we accumulate. And, I really believe Bitcoin has been maybe the greatest asset in the last decade. It's gone up on average 70% a year over year for the last 10-year period of time. There's no asset that's outperformed it. And so I really believe in that on one side. So Bitcoin, think of Bitcoin as like the digital gold. And then, we have a company called World Liberty Financial, and we have the fastest growing stablecoin. So again, stablecoin being kind of defined as the US dollar digitized, that's backed 1-to-1 on US treasuries. I think that's really going to be the oil by which the whole system works, or so much of the system works. Meaning, you want to make a payment. You want to buy a watch from your friend, and they're in a different country. You can send wallet to wallet instantaneously for virtually no fees. Like, try and go do that through JP Morgan. Good luck. It's gonna get there 3 weeks later, and you're gonna have 70% of your money left because of fees and expenses and everything else.
How many people tell you, or do you think, that come to you for crypto advice, they're afraid because Bitcoin's already at 110,000, so it's too late?
You think it's going to hit 1 million? I saw, right?
I do. Yeah, listen, it's gonna be a number of years before it does, but no, I absolutely do. First of all, the biggest families want it. The biggest private wealth funds want it. Fortune 500 companies are treasuring it every single day. There's people are hoarding Bitcoin. I mean, there are major nations out there that take all their extra energy and use that to mine Bitcoin, right? And so it's becoming truly like a world-class asset. Right now, all of a sudden, you can also buy in your equity markets. You can buy it as part of ETFs. You can buy it, as part of your 401ks, your Roth IRAs. And so it's incredibly valuable. But people are saying that to me. I was telling people, buy BTC at $50,000. Eric, it's too expensive. It's at 50,000. I'm going to wait till it comes down, right? That hits 80,000. Buy Bitcoin. No, it's 80,000. It's way too expensive. Then all of a sudden it hits 100,000. Buy Bitcoin. No, it's too expensive, right? And then it hits 125,000. It's like, guys, I don't know how many more times I can say it to you. Like, I think it's going to continue to rip. I think it's going to do really well, and I am all in. And I've never been more proud of this company. American Bitcoin. It's like it's an awesome venture.
I'm pretty sure I think it was Odell Beckham Jr. took his whole paycheck in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and he made Tristan Thompson did as well, who's become a good buddy of mine, and made an absolute fortune in it.
How do you go about that? Like, how can you request that you want to get paid?
Well, I mean, he did it through, I guess, the team and his contract, but a lot of companies are now starting to offer that, right? How would you like to get paid? Do you want to get paid through BTC? Do you want to get paid through the US dollar? And so you've had a lot of people put in those requests, and those people made an absolute fortune. They made $30 million, but congratulations, that $30 million went up 6x in the period of time they took their contract. So their $30 million just became, damn near 200 in that same period of time, all because they took an appreciating asset. And so again, there's no asset that's appreciated faster than Bitcoin has. And think about Bitcoin, right? There's only 21 million. That's kind of the beautiful thing. There's no asset in the world that has finite scarcity, no commodity, right? So if the price of gold ever got to $10 million an ounce, you'd probably break down the column right there, and we'd be able to extract gold from the concrete that made up that column. Right. The higher the price of any commodity goes, the more money you can put into mining more of it. So you're actually just increasing supply. Bitcoin's capped at 21 million. It will always be 21 million. There will never be another Bitcoin created. And so it really creates massive compression. Then you take an asset that's 24 hours a day, global, not susceptible to any, government, decentralized, not prone to bad management. I mean, you buy into a hotel company and it's poorly managed, you're going to lose money, right? There is no management. There's no fraud. There's no abuse. Go try and travel, to go buy 5 bars of gold and try and travel to Europe with them. You're going to get stopped by the TSA, and they're going to report you to the IRS for trying to carry your own asset. It's you can bring that money anywhere in the world, anytime.
Do you have any theory on the founder that no one seems to know who he is or where he actually came from or anything?
Yeah, I've got some theories. I've got some theories, but I mean the premise of this is the whole system is genius, right? You're using massive compute power to otherwise kind of protect a financial system of an asset that's beyond scarce, that everybody wants, that's global and solves all the problems that I mentioned before. Again, you want to buy something, you could send me $1 million worth of Bitcoin right now. It could hit my wallet in 3 seconds, and you practically pay 0 fees. Like, tell me that every financial institution in the world isn't pissed off about that.
Oh yeah,
they want to extract the fees. They want as many middlemen as humanly possible, because that's what keeps their 70-story buildings lit and alive, and their CEOs making hundreds of millions of dollars a year, you're pretty much bypassing all of them. And I think it's a great thing in terms of kind of financial democracy. I think that's a really, really good thing for humanity, right? It gives people financial freedoms that they could never otherwise have. Guess who does best with financial institutions? Guys like us, right? Because we've got a lot of properties, and aside from the debanking based on politics, we have leverage because we have size. Guess who doesn't have leverage?
People that don't have properties.
The mom and pop, the young student, the this and that. They have no leverage over a JP Morgan or one of these big banks.
Right.
All of a sudden, crypto gives them financial freedoms that they've never had before, and it's one of the reasons I'm really I really believe in its entire ethos.
Do you think it ever completely takes over?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're already seeing it in so many ways. I mean, stablecoins are rocking and rolling. I think what's going to happen is you're going to stop seeing trades settled vis-a-vis Swift, and I think you're going to start seeing all trades settled, vis-a-vis stablecoins, trade settled instantaneously. There's no waiting on a Saturday and Sunday for your money. You're going to get it all instantaneous. So I think finance is going to become a lot faster. There's no reason if you want to go buy a house, you should be waiting 120 days to to go through and know your customer to be able to. That doesn't make any sense. Like, you have the asset, you want to go buy a house, it's your damn money. You should be able to go buy the house tomorrow, right? And crypto allows you to do that using blockchain technology. It lets you borrow against your assets instantaneously. And guess what? If it goes down, it will liquidate a portion of it to cover the margin calls, right? And if it goes up, how many people have borrowed against Bitcoin where you have an asset that's gone up on average 70% a year? So it's going like this. They borrow off of that. Say they borrow 50% off of that. So say you have $1 million, you borrow $500,000 off of that. Your Bitcoin's going up, 70% a year over year. And you're able to buy the house or invest in the business or pursue your dreams or do whatever the hell you want, right? And they can do that instantaneously without waiting for, not to be kind of crapping on a JP Morgan, but not waiting for them to have some underwriter, paper pusher, and some skyscraper, God knows where, telling you whether or not you're qualified to use your own money to buy an asset or invest in a business that you want to otherwise. I mean, guys, it really is financial freedom. So, yes, I think sooner rather than later, I think you're already seeing it. You're seeing it in a major way. And America is leading the way right now. 100% we're leading the way. But I think you're already seeing it. And I think the financial implications of it in the next 3-5 years. I mean, internet right now, crypto is growing about it's going faster actually than the internet was growing in 1999.
Really?
Right. And that's not stopping anytime soon.
All right, this is a great business podcast. Perfect time for me to tell you guys about Shopify. I love Shopify because, guys, this is so close to home for me. We have been using Shopify since day one of FullSend.com. Shopify's always been the business behind the business. With Shopify, it makes it feel like you have an entire team behind you, even if it's just you on your laptop. They power like 10% of all the global e-commerce worldwide. They have huge brands like Gymshark, Mattel, and of course FullSend and Happy Dad. It's not just about slapping together a website. Shopify has so many tools now. AI tools, they literally do everything from A to Z, even the boring stuff like shipping and inventory. And that purple Shop Pay button you see, yeah, that's the best converting checkout on the planet. If you have a business idea, you gotta get off your ass and do it. And I got you guys on a sweet ass, cheap deal. Sign up for a $1 per month trial at shopify.com/fullsend. Shopify.com/fullsend. It's a sweet ass deal. Shout out to Shopify. We love you guys. Let's get back on the pod.
If everything disappeared tomorrow, what's the first thing you do to rebuild?
Oof. That's a great question. Well, I mean, the question is, do I have the same love of what I do today? Do I have the same love?
Yeah.
No, I think what you do is you get into the thing that you know the best and you have the greatest competitive advantage at, right?
Mm-hmm.
I certainly wouldn't dive into a field that I know nothing about. The learning curve is too long. You figure out whatever your heart tells you. You figure out whatever you're most passionate about. Whatever you enjoy the most, coupled with something that can be right. We all probably enjoy things that just can't be. There's certain things that can't be monetized. In life, or there are certain things that
you love, but you can't.
Yeah,
it's not gonna be your business.
I always joke. So at a lot of our properties, you have tennis courts, right? Tennis is worth freaking business, right? It's just, you can't make tennis work. If you can break even in tennis, right? And I'm using like a silly example, but like if you really love tennis, I'm not saying don't go, but for the most part, I think it's probably going to be a pretty hard thing to really grow something that's in that space because it's just very hard, right? It's real estate intensive. It's tough. People don't pay a lot for it. So I'd probably not go down the road of something that can't be monetized well, but you have to find the thing that can be monetized well, but that you absolutely adore and you love and you're passionate about and you really believe. You could probably hear my love for crypto. You could probably hear my love for real estate, right? If everything disappeared tomorrow, I would definitely be in those two industries, and I would rebuild on those rails because I understand both paradigms. And I'm super damn passionate about both paradigms. And you can make a lot of money. You can do extremely well. You can be a great entrepreneur in both those things. You might like, basket weaving. I would strongly suggest you not try and rebuild in the field of basket weaving because it's probably not going to work out too well.
I could see Salim weaving baskets though at the same time. What's the biggest thing you've learned in business? Have you ever been burned?
Oh God, how many times we've all been burned? You're going to get burned, right? Yeah. You're going to get burned. You're going to make mistakes. I think with everything in life, you got to treat life as a little bit of a game. I know that sounds crazy. Oftentimes it can be a super uncomfortable game. Oftentimes it's not a friendly game. Go back to politics for a second. Not nice. I built a charity for children of St. Jude, right? I built the largest ICU dedicated to terminally ill children anywhere in the world at St. Jude's Children's Hospital, which is the best pediatric research hospital in the world. I started the thing when I was 20 years old. I've raised over $50 million for them, built so much of their campus. And they came after me like I was a dog for doing it, right? All because they wanted a counter narrative to Hillary Clinton, kind of the crappy work that she was doing with the Clinton Foundation. And I realized, I started getting subpoena after subpoena, and they just wanted to do anything they could to destroy me. And I realized, after the pain subsided, it's like, I can't believe you would attack such a good concept. Like who would attack a children's charity that, had zero expense ratio? Like our expense ratio was the best in the country. Who would go after that? And you start realizing that there's a game behind it. Well, why were they going after me? They were going after me because Hillary was being attacked every single day, and they needed a counter narrative, and that was the world of politics. And so there's a point that, you have to treat everything like a game. You have to take emotion out of life and start looking at things as a game. How do I win it? Sometimes that game is really fun and enjoyable. And we've had a lot of those moments in our lives. Sometimes that game sucks, guys. You're going to find that. I'm sure you found that plenty of times on this journey where you put your heart and soul and created something great, and then congratulations, YouTube cancels you like a dog because they don't like your message, or because you're reaching people that they can no longer monetize because you're monetizing those very people, and they want to destroy everything that you've built. And that's all part of the game. And so, I think the piece of advice would be just understand life as a game as it is, and play those, try and play as many of those cards as you can, devoid of the emotional reaction that's so easy to have.
So you're saying you pretty much can't have emotion?
No, I'm not saying that. I think emotion is important. I'm just saying that I think when people start crying to themselves, like there's going to be some things that you can effectuate, and there's going to be other things that you can't. And just realize that a lot of times you're playing outside the world of emotion. You're playing inside a world of a game, and just play to win.
Right.
Work to win, play to win. You're going to have crappy situations get thrown at you all the time.
I was going to say, I can't imagine how many friends come at you for favors, and you have to separate friendship, business relationships.
Yeah.
And
I think for me, during the political fight, I think it was more, I had, you guys were obviously incredibly close. I had two friends, and they were, when I say inseparable, they were your drinking buddies in college. I did every vacation of my entire life with them. That, your best friends, best everything. And, sure enough, politics came along. I was one of the groomsmen in one of their weddings. The other brother was like my true best friend in the world. And all of a sudden I pop up Instagram one day or Facebook, and I see his wife marching in. Do you remember that parade in Washington, D.C., I won't use the word, but the P parade that was happening in 2016 where all the girls were wearing the hats and everything else. And she's marching in this with the most vile sign about my father that you could ever imagine. I'm like, how could it, I don't understand. I was literally on the stage of your wedding. I was your best friend. I'd introduced the two of you guys. We had done everything together. And there are times in your life where people just disappoint you. They will. And remember the people who were there in the worst times.
Yeah.
Because those are the people who will be by your side forever. There's a lot of people who are going to be by your side. Listen, as you guys have gotten, tremendous fame from everything that you're doing here. I bet you have people kissing your asses every day. I can tell you a lot of those people wouldn't die on the stake for you. Times, it got shitty. Your podcast gets, something happens with, and guess what? Those people will forget who you are in 3 seconds. Not all of them. Not all of them. I don't want to be like a negative Nancy.
No, you're right.
But that's why, in a certain way, in like 2020, with the Joe Biden nonsense. Not that I believe that Joe Biden won. I mean, no one actually believes Joe Biden got 16 million more votes than Barack Obama did in 2012. Like, I don't think anybody believes this. I don't even think Obama believes this, by the way. But we quickly figured out who were true friends, and it was actually kind of like a very cathartic thing for all of us. Like we knew who was in the trenches with us. We knew who was by our sides. We knew who loved us when it was arguably unpopular to like us. And you'll never forget those people.
What was it like when in 2020? Were you guys like down about it? Did you kind of think it was over, or what was your like mindset and emotions like at that time?
Yeah, so we were in the blue room of the White House, and I'll never forget. I mean, we were winning that thing, right? Until those dumps happened at 2:00 in the morning. And do you remember that kind of famous chart? And then all of a sudden, and I'm sitting there, and it was just like crushing, And what's interesting, and sometimes when you work so damn hard, where you've literally left everything on the field, it's like hard to compartmentalize emotion because you're just kind of dead, and you're sitting there saying like, I know we're being screwed. The whole world knows we're being screwed. And again, back to the thing, no one believes that Joe Biden, who didn't campaign, who lived in his basement for a 7-month period of time, got more votes than Barack Obama, who, whether you love him or not, was incredibly charismatic, had a good look, had a good line of shit, and all sorts of things, right? No one believes it. And I'm sitting there saying, we just got ripped off. We just got absolutely gypped, and we had worked so damn hard. And what was interesting is kind of in retrospect, it was actually maybe the greatest thing that ever happened to us. All right. I look at the difference now. And you've got the Senate, you've got the House, you've got the Supreme Court 6-3, you've got, obviously the executive branch. You've got a media that's largely dead. You've got American people who just don't believe in the nonsense that these people pander. You've got independent journalism and independent voice like you guys. It's just like a different, So that's the other thing. It's like be careful of the law of unintended consequence in life. Oftentimes the things that you think are going to be worst in your life turn out to be the best. And the things that are best sometimes turn out to be the worst. And you don't see it at the time. Like, again, it was crushing in 2020. And now, as I sit here today, it's the best freaking thing that ever happened to us.
Completely changed the game.
A law of unintended consequence. Like, be careful.
What would have happened if you guys won that election? It just
if you won that happened, you would have had Mike Pence as a vice president. I think we all probably would prefer JD, right?
Yeah, JD's a beast.
By 10, right? You probably wouldn't have had Rubio in there. You probably wouldn't have had this killer cabinet.
The cabinet's just crazy.
You wouldn't have had the deflated media. You wouldn't have had the House or the Senate. I don't think you probably would have been kind of lamed up almost based on the fact that you wouldn't have controlled, that branch of government. You would have had real problems, all right? And it would have sucked, right? Like, he would have been effective, but he would have been effective in very different ways. They probably would have tried to impeach him another 5 times. They would have probably been effective at it because if you didn't have the House and if you didn't have the Senate, you probably would have been effective at impeaching him. Versus today where you don't have any of those things. Man, that's beautiful. I mean, that's beautiful.
Do you have any piece of advice that your father gave you that just changed your life completely?
With happy dad bottles, it's hard to give one of them. No, so my father wasn't a big drinker, and he would always say, and he was really talked about at a young age, but he was always, kids, like when we were young, no drinking, no drugs, no smoking, get good grades, no tattoos. Don't trust anyone. That was always his kind of line of advice. I think as a kid who was 6 years old, that's probably a good line of advice, if that makes sense. I think a little bit different than what we're talking about, but that was always his thing. And this other thing was, listen, you got to love it. You've got to love what you do. Don't try and do this if you don't love it. I can't tell you how many freaking smart people there are out there in the world that are either unmotivated or don't love what they're doing. And man, it's awfully hard to be successful under those constraints. And so that was always his guiding principle for us. And then, as I said before, he made us work our asses off. It was not like, go spend 3.5 months doing absolutely nothing during the summer. It's no, you're going to sit on a damn construction site. Like, I wired half of my house when Laura and I moved into our house. I was running outlets all over the place. I was running outlets to my closet. I was doing all the light fixtures. I mean, and she's like, honey, you're going to get electrocuted. I go, no, so
that's key. Yeah. Making, like, I don't know why. Yeah, if you have rich parents and they just give you everything and don't make you work, it just fucks
buddies
them up,
I had that at Georgetown, and gave their kids some fucking 911 Turbo the kid's 18 years old in college. It's like, honestly, my kids in college, they're going to be driving a used fucking Suburban from 1984 that goes 40 miles an hour. That's a tub of steel around them. Like who gives their kid a 911 turbo? Who gives their kid a Ferrari? Like you've lost your damn mind. And by the way, if you do that, what the hell do they like aspire to build, right? Like,
It doesn't get better than that, kind of, right?
yeah, that's my point. So
Yeah.
like, why would you work if it doesn't get better than that? Like, what are you aspiring to achieve or get? Like, some of the greatest days in my life have been the days that I was finally able to afford to buy myself the thing that I wanted to, and you were able to do that off of hard work and not just something that was given. I want to keep my kids as poor as humanly possible, as long as humanly possible.
What's your favorite story of your dad?
God, there's so many. There so skiing. So my mom was like a Czech Olympic skier, right? And he would come skiing every year, but she actually kind of kept it from him that she was a really, really good skier because he's ultra competitive. And so she would fake that she was like sick, right? And then he'd go out skiing and, she'd go flying down the slopes, after and, kind of buzz him, but not really lead on to the fact that was her, right? And but we grew up skiing and I became very, very good early. And as soon as I started beating him, and I was like 7, right? As soon as I started beating him down the hills, he'd come up next to me, he'd find one of these flat areas where just, based on size and kind of momentum, he could catch up. Hey, if I can pop you out of your binding or if I can push you off the side because there's no way that like the 7-year-old kid was beating Donald Trump down the mountain, and so like we were competitive as shit, right? And there was no holding back. I can't tell you how many, but I still remember that like that was like the true competitive nature where it's like we all had to freaking win, right? He had to win, we had to win, and he truly is the greatest guy in the world, though. I mean, he's got a big heart, I mean, he's so much of him, it's not an act, but he's a killer in a certain way, and I think that's what we want as president. Certainly what you need to be if you're in real estate. At the same time, the guy he's such a good human being, who's done all of this for all the right reasons, and he could have, guys, his life would have been a hell of a lot better here, sitting in rooms like this, being wined and dined by everybody in the world, playing golf, screwing off, seeing his grandkids making gazillion dollars, doing really well at real estate, living the ultimate kind of American dream life, flying around in his plane, and he gives it all up to what? Get impeached over and over and over, take arrows, sit in courtrooms, 91 indictments. Whole thing probably cost us, just in terms of legal fees that I paid just from the company, damn near $400 million.
400 million.
Now this is to defend yourself from bullshit, right? Like let's put this in perspective. This is to defend yourself against the fact that you weren't colluding with Russia when you were never colluding with Russia. This is to protect yourself from the fact that there was no dirty dossier that was made up by Hillary Clinton and our cronies because she wanted to get a couple extra votes, right? And yet he did all of this because he believes in this country, he believes in America, and he believed that we were being run by a bunch of incompetent human beings that were selling us out to every country around the world and just being incompetent. And so, no, he's a remarkable person. But that skiing thing is one of those things I'll never forget. He was great.
Lawyers love the Trump family.
Lawyers like the Trump family. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't like lawyers, but lawyers like us. It's kind of amazing.
He looks like the ultimate grandfather too. Every time I see him with like Kai or like doing any type of like photos or with the grandkids,
he's freaking the best. He loves my daughter. He loves my son. It was kind of cool. We were at the Daytona 500 this year, and so the Beast did a lap around the Daytona 500. So I hop in, and it was Laura, myself, and it was my daughter's son, and she's just sitting there in the window of the Beast. It was like a moment from Days of Thunder. Have you ever seen Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise back in the day? And just waving at the grandstands. But he's always been great with kids. I mean, he loves kids. Kids love him. She'll go ride around the golf course with him, and on one of the golf carts, and with her teddy bear on her lap. And he's always been great. Great with that next generation. And it's fun to say. What's one of your favorite moments in the book? Oh, there's so many. So my mom was tough as hell, and communist Czechoslovakia, kind of Olympic skier. She wouldn't come to my graduation, and so I called her up. I was in boarding school, and I called her up with the date of my graduation. She was European, right? And so think of like the Super Bowl, the World Series, wrapped up with every sporting event, right? and with Augusta, put them all together, and you have something in Europe, it's Monte Carlo Grand Prix. That's like the F1 race, it's like the most pivotal race, and like every European freaking loves the Grand Prix, right? They all watch it. So I call my mom up one day and I go, Mom, my graduation's on whatever day it is, June 1st. And she goes, no freaking way. I go, what are you talking about? She goes, honey, that's Monte Carlo Grand Prix. I'm not going to your graduation. I go, Mom, it's my fucking high school graduation. You have to come to my high school graduation. She goes, honey, every idiot graduates high school. I'm going to Monte Carlo Grand Prix, right? And the funny part of that story is she's a freaking killer, and she really meant it, right? She's an amazing woman, but just different, right? I mean, kind of old world, tough as nails, and she loved us, but like that was like who she was, right? Like that was like her grit. It's like, every moron graduates high school, honey. Now, if I graduate from MIT, she would have said the exact same thing, honey. Every moron graduates from MIT. But it was just, as I was kind of describing who she was and the personality in our lives, it's just very funny. It's just like very real and very grainy and very her.
One day, do you think you'll ever get back into politics?
Guys, it's a shitty world, all right? And
it does seem shitty.
Yeah, it's a shitty world. It's a shitty world. It's a shitty job. By the way, with a bunch of kind of bad people. Not all. Some are great. Some are great, and so many of them are corrupt as hell. I think the Republican Party has created some great killers now. Some great personalities that we all like, right? And you didn't have that. Like, go back. I was in college during the Bush years, and no one was inspired by politics. Like, DJT inspired people to politics. You see you see every kid trick or treating, and guess what? They're wearing Donald Trump, red ties and suits, and they did a little comb over and everything else. Like, he's literally inspired like a generation. I think that's really kind of great. But, who knows what you're calling us? Right? I never thought I would have written a book that was #1 New York Times bestseller by a factor of 10. Mm-hmm. I never thought I would have been on The Apprentice for 7 seasons as I watched Nene Leakes and Star Jones, shout at each other at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? And Gary Busey and Meatloaf, like, we did that for 7 years, and it was wild. I never thought I'd be running, $10 billion company, probably more, of international properties and building hotels and golf courses and everything else around the world. I never thought I would have been on that stage for winning 2, arguably 3 presidencies, not knowing a damn thing about politics, right? So you never really know what the life brings, for good and bad. Mm-hmm. I think if it ever got so bad, that was my father's kind of famous saying back in the day, would you ever get into politics? And he said to Oprah a long time ago, if it got so bad, I had no choice. It'd probably be my same answer. Like, I'm not sure if I'd naturally hop in unless it was so effed up that like you just felt like you needed to do it. Mm. I feel like we've developed the voice. I feel like we've developed a great understanding of America and the issues and the things that drive people crazy, and the dislike of the media and the dislike of politicians and the BS and the games and the nonsense. And I don't think we'll ever lose that. It's just, whether or not we hopped in would probably depend on, where this country was and, whether it made sense for us and our respective families, right? Because they're coming. These people are, make no mistake, guys, they're coming. Whether it made sense at that time.
Who's like the craziest person or some of the craziest people you have ever met? Like, have you met Oprah? Like, have you met any crazy world leaders?
We were on
yourself,
like most of them. We were on the stage with. I think we were the second to last Oprah show. Her last one, I think she brought her original cast from her first episode ever back and gave them all cars. I think we were second to last on Oprah. So yeah, obviously met Oprah. Hulk Hogan. Rest his soul. I mean, he was a guy who we knew very well from the Atlantic City days. Remember, we also grew up in kind of Atlantic City, so the Michael Jacksons of the world, the Don Kings of the world, the Mike Tysons of the world. I mean, all of these guys, we knew every single one of them, every band, the Axl Roses of the world, and every performer.
They would all come here, right?
Well, a lot to the casinos, and then the other side. I mean, so you had kind of the apprentice world, which you had a lot of those characters, right? You had the business world where you had a lot of those characters. You had a lot of the world leaders that we just knew from certain circles. And you had the Atlantic City worlds, which were a lot of the entertainers and the fighters I mean, we were hosting the first of the UFCs back in the day before there were even freaking rules where you could eye gouge and kick to the face while somebody's on the ground and groin kick and stuff like that. Do you remember some of those early fights in the UFC?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
No weight classes.
People are literally wearing like gis,
totally.
like Royce Gracie.
Yeah, you'd have the Gracie guys that go against a fucking sumo guy. They'd just sit there and leg kick him, and then when he finally falls down, they'd get behind him and just choke him out.
Yeah.
Right? It was great
Crazy.
stuff, and and then obviously all the WrestleManias back in the day, and the Vince McMahons, and they're still friends to this day. And
Do you watch a lot of UFC still?
I love it. I mean that's my
That's
my
our favorite too.
sportive kind of choice.
Who would you love to see on the White House card?
Oof. I mean, John Jones has to fight. He
You think he'll be on it?
I would love to see him. You know, and it's funny. He put up a tweet the other day. It's like, I don't know, a month ago, where he had like one spot left on his wall. He had all the title, so, because he's right, and then he had one spot left, and he took a picture of it. So I feel like he has one left in him. And man, if there's ever one that you're going to do, it's the White House. I mean, I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see McGregor at that one.
Yeah.
I've gotten to know McGregor pretty well, and he's a great guy. I mean, there's so much talent in there right now. I mean,
Dana gained a lot of leverage off when the White House thing got announced because McGregor was kind of MIA.
Yeah.
Jones was retired, and then all of a sudden, White House,
Oh wait, guys,
everybody wants
this will be
on
the
it.
greatest performance of all time. I mean,
The
it's,
renderings look
insane.
insane.
How
Like that's
cool
going to
is
be
that?
the craziest sporting event of all time. I think.
My father's birthday, which is
Oh my-
Flag Day.
On the day?
Yeah, which is Flag Day at the White House on the South Lawn on America's 250th birthday. I mean, how freaking
Fighters
cool is
walking
this?
out from the Oval Office. Right?
This
That's
is
what I
when
heard.
it's going to be like we need like a great American card because listen, I like a lot of these guys, and these guys all like us. I mean, GSP, all these guys were universally. I tell you, all the fighters really. But man, we have to have a good American showing on America's birthday at the White House. We need a good American showing.
That's what I mean. So I wonder who.
Yeah, I wonder who they're going to put on because there's not any American champions right now.
I think main event options are this: John Jones versus someone.
Yeah.
McGregor versus someone, or potentially Topuria and Makachev. If that lines up, I think those are the
Warrior's a hell of a
three.
fighter.
I think those are the three possible main events.
Jones, Alex, McGregor, someone, maybe Chandler.
I'd love to see some of the other guys. We've become pretty close to Bo Nickel.
Mhm.
He's a hell of a fighter. This kid was like undefeated at Penn State, right? I mean, this was like the true like American champ. He goes into the octagon, he starts knocking people's freaking heads off. And by the way, not just wrestling. The ground game is obviously phenomenal, but like he ended up becoming a good striker, and he's doing great. Like I'd love to see a couple of the American kids that did really well in college at like the good American kind of state schools.
More wrestling based guys in the.
Yeah, I'd just love to see a couple of like the good American kids that are kind of newer to the sport but show great promise. Go in there and have a couple of the prelim fights. I always enjoy watching those guys.
You've been to a lot of fights, probably. So, what do you think the crowd will be like at that event versus typical UFC fights? Like, is it going to be a lot of world leaders there and stuff? Like,
yeah, I think that one's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously with security and space constraints and everything else, like
it's like 5,000 people.
But I think Dana's already said that they're not, obviously this isn't a pay-per-view thing. It's just going to be aired on right. So like the entire, I think this could be one of the most tuned into sporting events ever. Like, I'd love to see it push Super Bowl numbers. Right. And I think done correctly, I think it can.
Because it's going to be international, right? Just because it's at the White House. Like,
totally. No, I think it's going to be, it's going to be a hell of an event. I'm super excited. And Dana's become really close to the
He's the
family.
fucking man.
I've become really close to Dana, and he's Dana's the freaking greatest. I love him to death.
and no one loves your dad more than Dana too, right?
He's the best. Dana is absolutely the greatest.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
we cannot wait to be there with you watching.
come on, boys, let's go.
I might need your help.
I told you,
getting
you got to start doing a lot of favors for Dana,
anything
bro.
you need to, let me know. But yeah, we can't wait.
Dude, he's the best, and that's gonna be a fun event.
That card's going to be nuts, man.
Awesome. Well, I
But
think
by
this
the way,
is
doesn't that
God.
symbolize like the best of
There's
America?
so many.
Yeah, it's the most American thing ever.
Right?
Yes.
Do you think Biden would
love
have done
it.
that? Do you think Biden would have
Of
led?
course not. We know this.
Do you think Obama would have done that? Of course not.
The
right?
best thing about it, and I think we asked Dana this on the podcast, is that your father announced it before talking to him. And there's nothing better than that.
Oh yeah.
That's the great.
Dana
Oh,
found out about it from the thing.
By the way, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
He announces a lot of shit on social media.
Yeah.
It's
Dana's like, oh shit, I guess I'm doing this.
Dana's one of these guys who never forgot. I told you this before, that there are people in your life who during the good times will be there, during the bad times will be wholly absent. Dana was one of those guys that no matter how rough the seas were, he never ever ever left his side. And he always told one story. He goes, when no one would bet on us, I approached Donald Trump in Atlantic City, and we held the first UFCs there, and no one would allow us to do it. None of the venues would take us. None of the states would take us. I had one conversation. He said, absolutely. And I'll never forget that. UFC wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Donald Trump. UFC wouldn't be here in this capacity if it wasn't for him believing in us and taking a chance. And I will never, ever, ever forget that. And man, Dana stood on that stage. He stood on that stage at the RNC conventions. This isn't easy, right? He had plenty of corporate sponsors who were telling him to go F himself. And, you do this and you're going to lose it all. You're going to lose your TV contracts. And Dana didn't give a crap. You want to talk about a guy who has backbone? You want to talk about a good man? Dana White is as good as it comes.
Definition of like having balls and not giving a fuck.
And look at his contract right now. Look at what he just did. Look at the contract he just signed.
Paramount, yeah.
This guy's crushed it.
Yeah.
And by the way, one other thing that no one talks about. Look at boxing, right? So I grew up on all the Tyson fights.
Now they're bringing him into boxing.
Well, they should, because he's a fucking phenomenal promoter. And boxing was, when I was growing up, boxing was like the biggest sport, right? Like, think about like mid 80s in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
We had everyone. We had the greatest Tyson fights, Spanks. We had all of them. I mean, I remember going to Tyson McNeely, where he beats the guy from. I remember he beats the hell out of the Peter McNeely from Boston.
He tried to intimidate him. He knocked him in like the first 10 seconds.
By the way, Tyson just got out of jail like 3 days later, right? And he literally
he looked terrifying in there.
He was terrifying.
Yeah,
that guy's the most terrifying of all time.
Yeah,
and I mean, boxing was amazing. And it was kind of like elegant. Like people would actually dress up to go to some of the fights, which kind of added like I try and be a little bit casual now, but like added something to kind of the glamour of what boxing was. And you had the great heavyweight fighters. Like people miss like the heavyweight fighters today.
Yeah,
it seems like all the good fighters were all these kind of like welterweight guys, and it's just less entertaining. And I think boxing,
right,
maybe more in the UFC, but less in boxing. And man, we got to bring boxing back. But Dana. He literally stole the fighting industry from boxing and brought it all to the UFC because that's how good he was, right? And I guarantee you give Dana 2 years of boxing, he'll make boxing relevant again.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's something him and your dad have in common is I feel like they like to prove people wrong too.
Oh, totally.
And they just won't stop till they win.
No,
like there's no option to lose. That's what I've kind of noticed.
He's the freaking greatest. I would take a bullet for that guy in a heartbeat. He had the coolest saying. He gets up on stage and he goes, "Listen, I'm in the tough guy business and Donald Trump is the toughest of them all." I thought that was the coolest statement ever. This is literally as he's like, courtroom after courtroom. We were in courthouses every day as they were trying to indict him. They were trying to throw me in jail. They were trying to throw him in jail. But Dana goes, "I'm in the tough guy business and he's the toughest of them all." Such a cool statement.
Hell yeah. All right, well, where can everyone get the book?
Go to Amazon. Don't go to Barnes & Noble. They've been kind of pissing me off.
Really? Why?
Yeah, we're number one bestseller.
Shelf space isn't
Honestly,
there for you?
I don't give a damn. I like to say that, but like, no, like you go to half the Barnes & Nobles and like they hide them in the background and shit like that. It's crazy. It's like I've had so many people walk into Barnes & Nobles, they can't find it. So it's the number one book in the country by far. And then people walk into Barnes & Noble and,
Barnes and fucking Noble, get it together.
Well, I don't even know if anybody buys anything in Barnes & Noble anymore. Just go to Amazon because honestly, everybody buys everything at Amazon. And I can tell you my publisher is not going to be fucking thrilled that I just said that. But it's honestly, you go into 3/4 of the Barnes & Noble, you can't even, they're there. But then you have a store manager that plays games and hides it behind 4 other books. And, there's plenty of that crap. But just go on Amazon.
We'll put the link at the top of the description too.
Number one book in the country and incredibly proud of it, guys.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you, bro. This was fucking awesome.
Hey, and congrats. Yeah, so you guys are crushing
we'll send you home with some Happy Dad too.
You're crushing it on the podcast. You guys are crushing it with Happy Dad.
Thank you so much.
You guys are incredible.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Eric Trump. Let's go.